Good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Colorlite card and how to set it up. We got Mynor from YourPixelStore to give us his wisdom on this topic. Thank you.
I could share this. I have access to the screen, right?
Yes, you do.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate it. I was asked by John to go over this, and I had actually taught a class at the virtual Christmas summit. It was a shorter class and abbreviated class, but we were able to get through it. But this time I actually have a screen and a working webcam, so I appreciate the opportunity to jump on here. We're basically going to go walk through how to set up an outdoor P5 panels using Colorlite and LED vision. I'm going to go through some of the processes, what some of the meanings are for some of the words, because I know it's very confusing for some people. And then, how to do some of the builds, and we'll go from there. What are they? Well, P5 panels are basically LED panels. And we call them P5 panels. Those are the more popular ones, but you have several other ones. You have P10s, P4s. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But basically, the P5 panels it has LEDs spaced about 5 millimeters apart from each other. That's the reason it's called P5. That's the pitch. The pitch is 5 millimeters. The smaller the number, the higher the density. So when you're talking about P4s actually have a higher resolution than P5s do. The majority of the units are 5 volts, and I say the majority because there are other ones that are different. But in our community and for what we're doing, we use 5 volts. Most of the time, they're either going to be RGB or BGR. So depending who you're getting it from, it's just a configuration that you have to figure out when you're setting it up in xLights or in FPP. The panel size for the most part are 320 millimeters by 160 millimeters. And for the American sizing, that's roughly about 12 inches, 12 point something inches to 6.5, about 6.5 inches, if you're trying to figure out the math. Most of the outdoor units are 1 through 18 scan rate. And that basically means, the scan rate basically means how many LEDs are on at any given time. So when it says 1 through 8, 1 out of 8, it means that 1 out of 8 lights are on at a given moment. And the scan rate, basically, we wouldn't be able to see it visually. We wouldn't be able to see the difference. But that just means that at any given time, one out of 8 pixels or LEDs are on for the P5 panels. Mounting screws are M4s. That's pretty much the average size for most of them. There are other ones that use M3s, but from what I've seen from WireWatts, myself, and Wally's, I think they're mostly M4s. When we're talking about the units, what I'm going to be talking about are the outdoor units. So how do you tell if you have outdoor panels? On the left side over here, we have the outdoor panels. They're built more robust. They're actually built they're built to be used outdoors. They have a little bit more covering, as you guys can see. I call it a cage. There's like a cage that covers it, and it just gives you a little bit more protection. It just gives you a little bit more protection. And then some of them are actually covered with a silicone spray, liquid spray, to give it even further protection. But the indoor units, which is the one on the right side, you can see is a lot less robust, and they're intended to be indoors, so they don't take the beating that the outdoor units take. So they don't have to be built as robust.
Hey, Mynor. Mynor. Jay, can you hear him?
No, nobody can hear him.
No, I was just gonna tell him he's sharing his whole display, and that is just a PowerPoint. One of the shortest classes we've ever had.
Can you guys hear me? Am I
Fine.
back?
There you are, Mynor. Yep.
Yeah,
We
sorry about
could-
that. I
yep.
have no idea what happened. Where did you guys last hear me?
And my,
The enclosed robust outdoor panel.
Okay, so the outdoor robust units, they just have they're built they're built to last. They're built to be outdoors. The indoor units, which is on the right side, is basically used for indoors. You can see that it's not built as well. In fact, you can even see there's several missing components from it because it's not intended to be outdoors. I do know that there's people that use the indoor units because they're cheaper, but long term, the outdoor units went out because what I've heard is people replacing the indoor units when they're outdoors and the elements kick their butt. They end up having to replace them anyways. So I always tell people if you can scrape up the budget, always go for the outdoor unit. It's just easier. And the beauty about the outdoor unit is that you don't need the front plexiglass, you don't need the acrylic, which saves you a lot of money in the long run as well. So just food for thought when you guys are deciding which panels you want to go to. I always recommend the outdoor units by far. Parts to build a unit, panels, of course, from indoor to outdoor, P10s to P1.9s. Those are the current ones available. xLights only supports up to P2.5, but only a small screen. And this is just conversations with the developers. It's just so many channels that xLights ends up going really slow if you have a really huge P2.5 setup. So the recommended size that you stay is either P5 or P4. That's a current setup. Again, maybe this was about, I spoke to the developers maybe about 6 months ago, so maybe it's changed since then, but this is what I've currently been told. For power supplies, the Mynor 5-volt 350s, can't go wrong with it. Really robust. Definitely will last a long time. And I think I've only had to replace maybe 1 or 2 units in the whole time that I've been selling the outdoor units. Data cables, each order, and it wired watts as well, I know for a fact, sends the small data cables that you basically link and connect to each controller, each panel. Depending on the size that you're going to be using is going to determine, if you're going to make a huge screen, you're going to need longer data cables. But if you're making a small tune sign, you might be able to get away with just like a 15-inch cable to the Colorlite card. Power cables, 2 for 1. If you don't know this, it comes with power cables, and 1 power cable powers 2 panels, and I put 2, but it should have been the number 2. Enclosure. This is really important because you're either going to build your own or you're going to get a pre-built one. If you build your own, I've seen people do some elaborate stuff from wood all the way to doing their own aluminum setup. Or you, like I said, you can get a built one. You can either get that, again, Wired Watts has plastic ones that he sells pre-built. We sell aluminum ones. So it just depends, what your budget looks like and what you're able to do. I forgot to add the Colorlite card. You're going to need a Colorlite card. The most popular Colorlite card is the Colorlite 5A75B, and I'll show you a picture of it. I actually had it on the website. So this is it right there. That's can you guys see it? Just want to make sure.
hey, Mynor,
No.
you're sharing your whole screen, not just your display page.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Can you guys can't see that screen then?
No.
Okay, hold on. Let me change to can you guys see that now?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the Colorlite card right there. The Colorlite card is basically, it's really simple. It has 4 channel. It has 8 ports that you use. Depending how big your screen is going to be, is going to determine how many of these ports you're going to use. When you guys are setting up your Colorlite card, the important, I know that some of you guys, we were just discussing this prior to the class, is we're used to using channel 1, which is J1 right here, channel 2, channel J3, and then J4, and going in that order, J5, J6, J7, J8. That's fine if that's the way you want to build it. The way that we build them, because we're building them by a half dozen to a dozen at a time. We actually go from J1, J2, J3, and that's basically going. And you'll see on the screen right now, that'll be top row, second row, third row, and then we go down here, fourth row, fifth row, sixth row, and that's very confusing for people that haven't been doing it. But for us, it makes it simpler for us to wire. And if you see the inside of our units, you'll understand why it's easier for us to wire it that way. But then I'll show you guys how that works in Colorlite, and then how you set it up in FPP if I'm able to get to that point. So let me go back to my presentation. So again, just depending on what kind of build you want to have. With the software, we have the most important thing right now, and I'm telling people right now, is that LED Vision actually has 3 newer versions of LED Vision. 8.5 is the one that I trust the most. I've messed with 8.6, I've messed with 8.8, and I think 8.9. And they're completely different. They've added new features, but they're also it's more of a testing phase. They're not completely tested, and I don't trust them yet. 8.5 has been really solid for me, and I stick to 8.5. I may lean to 8.6 pretty soon once I figure out some of the new setups that they have. The new setups that we have, and then we'll also go to the firmware the firmware update. So one of the things that we've also have been seeing with the issues is that we've had firmware issues, and that's because I was talking to the developers for Colorlite, and apparently the new boards that they're offering, I think it's 8.5 or 8.6. They require a firmware update, but they're not sending the cards with the firmware update. So we have to do a firmware update. Version 4.4 of the LED screen is, LED upgrade is what you're going to need, and I'll share that right now for you guys. Where is this? Did I close it? Nope. Sorry, bear with me. Oh, here we go. So when we're sharing, when we're doing this right here, this is the one that I'm talking about. So there's 8.5, there's 8.6 and 9.0. I've messed with 8.6. They actually removed 8.8. If you notice, it's gone now. So 8.8 is no longer used, and 9.0 is completely different. I don't recommend you guys use it at all. Unless you're willing to go and explore and even try a new interface, by all means download 9.0, but it is very, very difficult. I've tried messing with it. I was confused. So I dropped back down to 8.6. I'm using 8.6 right now just because I want to make sure that I learn the differences between 8.5 and 8.6. But for everyone else, my recommendation is you stick to 8.5. It's more simpler. It doesn't have all the other new tools that 8.6 and 9.0 introduce that we don't really need. Most of the people that are going to be doing Colorlite or the LED using the P5 panels are either going to do it through xLights or FPP. So you don't really need all the other fancy stuff that LED Vision 8.6 and 9.0 offer. For the firmware, you're going to use version 4.0. And it's called LED upgrade. And we're going to go through that process as well together. And you guys are going to see what it does to the screen. But I wanted to make sure you guys also knew that the official website for Colorlite, it's called colorlighteinside.com. There's actually another website that that pops out first when you click when you type in Colorlite or LED Vision. Do not download from that website. I think it's just I think you're just going to be downloading some badware, some malware, and I don't recommend you do. So make sure that you're downloading from colorlightInside.com. That's the official Colorlite website and has all the information that you need. Another thing that I wanted to mention is for those that are actually just using LED vision, if you guys decide that you want to use LED vision 100%, and you're going to end up using it as a Wi-Fi unit, or you're going to use it as a live streaming, then you're going to use Playmaster. Playmaster is an amazing software. It's very powerful. It sets up schedules for you. You can tell it when you want it to run. You can tell it when to turn it off. You can set up different schedules for, like, hey, for 5 minutes, I want this to play, then completely blank for 10 minutes. Then it's going to start playing this video for you. So if you go down that path line, Playmaster is definitely the program that you want to use. It's an excellent program. It's complete. This one is one of those programs that is completely set up for the end user that wants to use Colorlite and LED vision. Going back to the presentation. So those are the softwares that I use, and they've been like, it works perfectly for what we're trying to do. And basically what we're going to walk through today is the outdoor P5 panel setup, how you set it up in Colorlite. So once it's set up in Colorlite, it's ready for you to set up in xLights or FPP. The first step is to find the resolution. So one of the things I've noticed about people is that they get stuck on what the resolution is supposed to be. And so the key thing is to remember that the panel itself is 320 by 160. 320 by 160 basically means that that's how big the panel is by itself. When you have a P5 pitch, then you're basically dividing 320 by 5, which gives you 64, and then 160 by 5, which gives you 32. Just going down to figuring it out. So if we had two panels, 2 by 2 panels, we'd be multiplying this by 2 and multiplying this by 2, and we get 128 by 64. The one that we're going to be talking about today in the Zoom is panels is 4 wide. So it's going to be 4 wide by 6 tall. And so basically that's going to give you a resolution of 256 by 192. And so that, again, the key thing about that is if we have the resolution, then we're going to be able to create that profile in LED vision, and your screen is going to look pretty good. So right now, I'm going to turn on my video. Hopefully it doesn't turn off on me again. Can you guys see the video?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to turn on LED vision. So now we have LED vision right here. And come on, let's move it over here. And the screen. Let me pin the screen real quick for myself. So LED vision, this is what it looks like. This is LED vision 8.5. With the screen, the first step that you're going to do always is you're going to start off with the control. And we talked about the screen size and counts. So you go to screen size and counts. So our resolution, like I mentioned, was 256 by 192. So that's already set up for us. And when you do that, you're going to click apply and then close. You're going to get a small screen. Can you guys see this little small screen right here?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to get a small screen. That's actually basically a mirror image of what your screen should look like. So if your screen, when your screen looks like this, that means that your setup is complete and ready to go. But let's just assume that it's not set up. I know that you can see my video and it looks set up already, but let's just assume it's not set up. So we're going to go to LED screen settings. The passcode is 168. So with 168, when we get here is we see the width right here. That's where if we were using 2 Colorlite cards, and I'll discuss that in a bit, but if we were using 2 Colorlite cards, this number would be different. But right now we're only using 1 Colorlite card. So the width is 256 and 192. So everything looks good. One of the things that I did want to cover is this is actually the biggest width that you can go and keep a refresh rate of 19 by 20. Once you go to a bigger screen with like a 5x6 or a 6x6, because the width is so big, you're actually I recommend that you get a second Colorlite card. There are some vendors that just say just drop the refresh rate. You don't need a high refresh rate. I believe our panels are 19 by 20 refresh rate. So I like to keep my panels at 1920, which is what you see right here. Other vendors, again, what they would do is say, okay, we're going to add another panel on there, so it's going to be 320. But did you notice that it turned red? That means that the resolution the refresh rate has to be dropped in order for it to fit. Well, now my refresh rate isn't at the optimal refresh rate that it should be. So my recommendation is at that point that you add a second Colorlite card so you can have the highest refresh rate. So we can go back to 256. And so our biggest panels that we go is 4x6 with one Colorlite card. Anything else, we add a second Colorlite card. And another thing that I forgot to mention is the way that we set up our panels is we don't go more than 6 or 8 panels per power supply. We've noticed that there is lag when the power supplies are limited. So the fewer power supplies that you have, the more lag there is when you're running your program on FBP or xLights. That's something that we've noticed. And in order to fix that, we recommend adding more power supplies. And that goes back to the 1 through 8 scan rate, which is up here, the 1 through 8 scan rate. When you have 1 through 8, again, 1 out of 8 LEDs on at a given time, when you're asking it to do this video, it's trying to keep up with the refresh rate. But because your refresh rate is lower, because your screen is bigger and you have to lower the rate, then all of a sudden, it's not able to keep up. So that's the idea behind having a higher refresh rate and just adding another Colorlite card when it gets too wide. And that's just a rule of thumb for us. And again, not bashing on anybody, this is just a rule of thumb for how we do stuff here. Other vendors do it completely different, and they would have to explain that to you at a different time. Let's say you had the panels. We're going to talk about how to set up the panels. So we know that our width is 256 by 192. We know our module is 64. So we already have that information in here. So we're going to click next. This is how we set it up. Let me go back. I went to intelligence setting. This is how you set up a panel if you don't have a profile. If there's vendors that sell their panels, don't have a profile. I think Wired Watts doesn't sell his profiles, but he has like a step-by-step way of how to set up the profile. And this is how you do it. You're going to start off with this process right here. So we're going to start off with the process. Okay. Is the screen not connected? Give me 1 second. There you go. All right. So make sure that it's not on the disconnected version. It's always on the connected version right there. So it's the detector card. And let's go back, intelligence setting. There you go. So in intelligence setting, what you're doing is you're trying to find the profile. And what I mean by profile, you're trying to find the correct configuration that the panels need in order to know who they are. So we're trying to tell the panel who they are. They have no idea what they do, how to do it. We need to tell them that information. So the first step is we're going to click next. So as you notice, it says number 1, it says display black. That's actually exactly what we want to see. If it says number 1 and the light pops out, there's something wrong with the panel. We have to figure it out. So right now, display one display black, it's completely black. 2 display white. We see you see the screen has a white line. That means that it's set up correctly on this step. Now we're checking basically the color configuration. So we have the first one is red, so it's working well. Second one is green, it's working well. Then we have blue, And then of course we have black. So that means that it's set up properly in this step, so we can move on to the next one. Next is going to ask you how many rows are lighting up, which right now you guys can't see, but it's actually 16 rows. That's basically splitting up the panel in twos. So it's 16 rows that are lit up, and what I mean by that is little small LEDs all the way down, all the way up, and it's 16 rows. We actually have two. I'm sorry, the other one was, yes, we actually have two lights over here. And the reason why you have two lights here is because of the scan rate 1 through 18. When you have a 1 through 18 scan rate, that means that 16 rows are going to be on. 8 rows are going to be on at any given time. So that's the reason you see the two lights, the two rows lit up right now. So we're going to click next, and this is where I'm actually going to do something real quick so we can walk through this process. So right now it's set up, and I'm going to erase it. So this information right here is basically all the information that we have for the telling it exactly where the data is supposed to go for each LED. I'm actually going to erase that so we can start from scratch. Because we have a 1 through 8 a scan rate, we actually skip the first row, second row, third row, fourth row, fifth row, sixth row, seventh row, and eighth row. We actually start providing data at row number 9. So here we are right here, and this is the most difficult part. And what I mean by difficult is that it takes a while, because you have to make sure that the data is in the right spot. Because if you do this, just like I did, you have to press back and get all the information back and make sure that you get in there. So you're just dragging it all the way across. And the key point is that you're trying to get to 64. If you get to 64, that means that you have the amount of the amount of data for the 64 units that we were talking about. And then you notice that it went down to row number 2 now. So row number 2, we're going to go back and give that information up here. And we're just going to go all the way across. If you have a touch screen, it makes it so much easier. And now you see that it's blinking. So that means that you provided the correct data. Correct. We are looking at the first connected panel only. Correct. That is correct. That is the first panel that's set up. So yeah, that's exactly the configuration that we're doing for the first panels. So you see that 2 lines are blinking now. And then all you have to do now is go down. And you should have the panels correct. So and everything looks right. You can see some blinking right now. And you can see, I'm sure you guys can see in the screen, there's a big gap in the middle. And this is where the conversation comes about, well, how do we fix that in LED vision? So then it's set up properly. So it's set up properly in, in FPP and xLights. So we go to data group swap. This is something that most people don't use. And I don't think any of the other vendors use this. And for me, when I figured this out, it didn't matter how I wired. The panels, as long as I was able to get the information in here. So if you guys noticed, the light turns on in the middle. Well, that's the middle for me is panel number 4. But remember, each panel is 16 rows. So 1 and 2, if you see 1 and 2 here, that's panel number 1. 3 and 4 will be panel number 2. 5 and 6 will be panel number 3. 7 and 8 would be panel number 4, which is the middle right there, because we have 6 panels going down. So the first one would be there, and you notice that the light switched as soon as I clicked on it. So it's telling me that panel number 4 got data on rows 1 through 16. Now it needs data correction on 17 through 32. And we're going to continue doing that for panel number 5, panel number 6, and then all of a sudden you have a blank. So this is where, again, the different configurations of how people wire it. For us, we were able to figure out, well, we can void connection number 4. We're voiding that information, and we actually void it twice, because remember, it's we have row 1 through 16 and row 17 through 32. So we voided connection number 4. Now I'm going to void connection number 5, and then all of a sudden we're at the top. And for us, now we have it completely configured properly without having to rewire anything. So all the information is exactly where it needs to be. And it's completely set up. But I'm pretty sure you guys can see there's some flickering going on the screen. So this goes back to, let me close this. Let me open this up real quick. This goes back to, all right, so where's my Zoom screen? All right, here we go. So this goes back to LED upgrade. So one of the things that we've ran into, and this goes with whether you're buying it from me, where you're buying it from WireWatch, you're buying it from Panels R Us up in the UK. We've noticed that some of the new Colorlite cards have been having a firmware issue. And so what we figured out is that we have to upgrade the firmware to LED upgrade. So when we do this, we start off with the sender mode. We always use net card because that's what we're using. We're using a network card to send the data to the panels. It's going to tell us that it's not enabled, and that's because we have to set it up ourselves. There's only one setting. You go to setting, then you go to NIC setting, and then you're gonna I normally click auto select, but in this case, it's always picking the disconnected one. So I go to the one that's connected, I close it down, and I can click. Come on. Why is it not reading it? Again. Second. I think it might have disconnected from me again. Give me 1 second while I ditch this a little bit. So it normally detects the card. I'm gonna see if I can start it over. So give me a second. Let me see if I can start it over on this side. Why isn't it reading it? Oh, there it is. All right. All right. So now it's detecting it. It detected the receiver card. So when it detects the receiver card, you're gonna select it, and it's gonna say upgrade firmware. And then we're gonna go to preset firmware. It's actually a preset firmware, and this is the one that we need. It says normal 11.09. And it's basically giving us the upgraded timing, and it's just going to be the one that we can use with FPP and xLights. So we press OK. It's going to go through its process right here. And it doesn't take that long. It takes a relatively small amount of time to do it. So you see that the upgrade is complete. It says upgrade is successfully done. It's basically done. It says upgrade successfully. Please power off and then power on your unit. So as soon as you're done with the firmware, you're just going to do a quick turn off. You're just Sorry, can you guys hear me again?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So you're going to go through the process. All right, so it's turned off right now. So you can see it's turned off. So I turned it back on and off. And then I'm going to go back to LED vision. And now you can see that the flickering is gone. It's completely gone. That means when it's flickering, it's telling you that it needs a firmware upgrade. It's actually how it tells you that it needs a firmware upgrade. If there's flickering after you set up your panels, and that's telling you that it needs a firmware upgrade, the panels are completely ready to go. And LED vision, I'm going to share LED vision again. Okay, that's nothing. So all right, so it's set up in LED vision. It's ready to go. The panels are set up. The way I like to test it is I always go to normal page, and I like to choose background. I hope I don't have anything incriminating here. Oh, here we go. So we'll just we'll choose this. So that's a picture. You guys can see it's a a moving head. It's showing that the picture wise it's working fine. But that doesn't really give me the full testing. I actually like putting videos on here. And the way I do that is, again, LED vision is pretty powerful. You can actually go to file, view, window, then you can add a video. I don't even know if I have videos here. Yeah, I don't have videos. Let me see if I can find one. Give me a second. This isn't the computer I normally use, so I apologize. All right, so let's add a video. So the way so we add a video. So here's a video right here. It's a video of another P5 panel. So the cool thing about LED vision and what I like is that you can use it to put your video, and you can make it any size you want. You guys can see that I have a video of another type of panel that I have. But you can see that the video is ready to go. And again, excuse the webcam. It's not catching the color, but it's actually in full color. I really like LED vision because you can do different types of things. You can split it up. I want to change I want to make it wider, and you could do it all instantly on LED vision to give it a test. And now the panel is ready to set up. It's ready to go. You can set it up in xLights. You can set it up in FPP, and I think that is it for me. Let me see. I know that I covered a lot. Is there any? Turn this off. Is there any questions or anything that you guys want me to go over again?
So Brian had a comment in there. So in FPP, we typically have to define which outputs and which panels, like panel 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're define your output. So do you skip output 4 and 5 if you skipped it on there? And
Correct. So you would skip outputs 4 and 5 when setting it up in FPP. So the way that it would work is your top panels would be your top panels would be, why isn't it coming to me? 6, 7, 8. So and then I can send this information because I know that you guys are the ones that support people with FPP, and I appreciate that. So the top panels would be 6, 7, 8, and then the bottom panels would be 1, 2, 3. And that's the way we set up all our panels. Hopefully that makes some sense to you guys, because the connections 6, 7, 8 are on the top, and connections 1, 3, 4 are on the bottom. The way we build our panels.
Anybody else have any questions?
Got a question for LED upgrade. It's a .rar file. Did you have to download an extension to be able to download that correctly?
Yes, I use WinZip. It's free, and it opens up the RAR units.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mynor, want to give thank you for that. Hopefully that will help some people out this fall that's just getting these and trying to set them up.
And then just a quick refresher. I want to make sure that you guys know that for the refresh rate for me, like I said, it's the most important thing is keeping the refresh rate as high as possible, because when you're putting your animation, you're putting all that work into it. You want to the Colorlite card is only an extra $25. Once you get past 4 panels wide, when you get to the 5th one and the 6th one, just add a second Colorlite card so you can keep that high refresh rate and not run into any lag or delays when you're running your panels.
Okay, thank you very much.